It's time for the First United Bank pregame show on the Southeastern Sports Network. First United Bank, encouraging you to spend life wisely.
Welcome into the First United Bank pregame show from the Blue and Gold Suite on the campus of Southeastern Oklahoma State. Time for our Coach Atterbury show. And last week, Coach, 4 overtime thriller, end up 3 points on the wrong side of the scoreboard. Still an outstanding game. Your guys fought down by 3 scores twice and still came back and just came up a little bit short.
Yeah, I was real proud of them. From an energy standpoint, I never felt like we were out of the game, and they just continued to battle. Again, like you said, just came up a little bit short. It's a bottom-line business. We didn't get the win, but I think there's a lot of things those guys can take away from that game moving forward, not only in this game but in life.
One of the things that we saw a little bit different, offensive coordinator Chad Spear moving up to the box, 60 points on the scoreboard. Does he see the field a little bit better from that angle?
We were just trying to get something going offensively, and then, Polite communicates with Coach Heavner on a daily basis, so we try to get that accomplished on a Saturday. Same thing with the offensive line and Coach Kinchelow. So just trying to open the lines of communication a little bit, and, those guys moved the ball a lot better, and we were 9 of 9 in the red zone, 8 of 9 on the touchdowns, and we had the 1 field goal.
Well, that was the one thing, too. You go back and look at that. That had been one of the struggles this year, the red zone, as well as third downs. A big change this past week as far as conversion rate goes.
Yeah, like I said, I'd felt like for a few weeks that we were just that one play away from pushing through in that red zone, and had some really nice plays to get that done by a lot of individuals. Took a group effort there.
And you talk about the group effort aspect, but we saw some outstanding individual plays from Kamen Farmer and Frankie Okafor, plays where they just absolutely laid it out to make a catch. Do you talk to any of the guys afterwards about that's the type of stuff it takes to succeed in those type of games?
Yeah, that doesn't just happen. Those guys prepare daily to try to get that product on the field. It's not an easy game to just show up and play, to put that type of effort out on the field. So I commend those guys for their preparation throughout the course of the week, and we had a lot of guys that were able to put themselves in position to play that way on Saturday, and that's what we're going to try to repeat each week. And, 3-point loss, but those guys can walk away knowing they gave their best.
For a quiet crowd, it was fall break. Have you ever had a crowd that small make that much noise?
Man, it was a fun feeling, and I was a little concerned about fall break and Harding's offense and the way they slow it down and so much time in between plays. But, really it was pretty electric.
It was actually funny because I'm sure you didn't see. You were paying attention to everything on the field from the box as we were going into overtime and teams were switching sides. Literally, the crowd would go from one end of the stadium to the other. It was something amazing to watch again, coming off of that 3-point 4 overtime loss against Harding. This week, you reset your sights against the much-improved Arkansas Tech team that's coming off of a disappointing loss in their own right. Arkansas Tech, you look at some of the numbers, are vastly improved. A year ago, gave up 42 sacks. This season, they've given up just 11.
Yeah, they coming off a tough loss, like you said, had a chance to win it late at East Central, and that's kind of been the theme of the season is 1 week on, 1 week off for certain teams. So we've been preparing well. Got a good quarterback. I think some of those sacks are reduced because he's good on his feet. He's got a big arm, got some athletes that he can work with, offensive line, and then they're really, really solid on defense, as most teams in this league are. We've got to be concerned about what we do and try to get a better start on the road. That's been the thing. As I said, in the 4 overtime game, I never felt like we were out of it when we were up at Northwestern. I don't know that I felt like we were in it just from an energy standpoint. So we've got to find a way for our guys to get on the road and compete like they do at home.
By all accounts, this should be the first game this season where inclement weather comes into play, expecting a torrential downfall across 3-4 state area. Any thoughts on that?
I really don't put a whole lot of thought into it. We may, use a wet ball a little bit in practice or something, but both teams have to deal with the elements. So it's still a level playing field when you look at it, and we've got to go execute our jobs.
Does it change anything from a play calling standpoint?
Yeah, it would. I mean, of course, from a pass to run perspective, and depending on how hard the rain's coming down and those type of situations. But again, we just need to execute.
Now, one of the things before we get to our famous Bo Knows segment, we saw a couple of changes in the depth chart this week. Asante McCray sliding into that backup role. What do you like about what he brings to the table as a change of pace back?
As you can see, he's got really good vision, and then his first step, when he sticks that foot in the ground, he's got some go for his first 5 and 10 yards there, and able to make some guys miss. So, just to change up that running back position's a tough position to play. Guys get a bunch of carries early. They get a little bit worn down throughout the course of a season, so we're blessed to have a handful of guys that can do that.
Of course, McCray with a rushing touchdown in the last outing against Harding. Time now for our Bo Knows segment. As always, I love popping things on Bo. This past week, Monday Night Football, the big news wasn't the game, although the game was pretty horrendous. It was pretty bad. The big news was the Star Wars movie trailer that aired. So I want to know what Bo knows about Star Wars.
Zero.
Really? Nothing? No, nothing about Star Wars.
I know zero about it. I never got into the movies, haven't watched them. I can't really even make any comments about it.
So I'll reverse the script on you. Do you have any favorite sci-fi movies? Because this past week was also we had Back to the Future Day in the middle of the week.
Now that one I can sit down and watch them all and stay engaged. So Back to the Future would be one that I could watch.
You have a favorite line or scene from Back to the Future?
Oh man, not sure. There's so many, with Marty McFly and all that. There's a lot of them that I like. I think it was probably a couple years ago. I caught it on HBO. Maybe they were showing all 2 or 3 in a row there at a time. So I sat there for 4 or 5 hours and just watched them all.
So for those of you wondering what the perfect gift for Bo Atterbury would be this Christmas, it's the Back to the Future trilogy. Again, coming up, we continue on the First United Bank pregame show. It's our Pettit Machinery Player Spotlight with Frankie Okafor after we have a word from our local sponsors on the Southeastern Sports Network. Welcome into the Pettit Machinery John Deere Player Spotlight. As this week the spotlight shining on wide receiver number 3 on speed dial this past week. Talking about Frankie Okafor. And Frankie, welcome on to the program. This past week we saw you do all sorts of things. 12 catches, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 immaculate reception in the back of the end zone on 4th and 28. Take us through this season. You've kind of had a high-profile season for the Savage Storm.
Just trying to do what I can for my team, trying to put my team in the best position to win. I'm at a position where if I have a good game, most of the time we win. Yeah.
This past week on the 4th down play, because that's the play that everyone has been talking about, you go up against 3 defenders. Did you ever have a doubt in your mind you were coming down with that one?
Nah, I saw the ball. We practice it every Friday. We practice different situations. So I've done that a couple times in my lifetime. I've done it in a real game a few times before, but when I saw Polite throw that ball, I just knew I had to go get it. That was going to be the game if I didn't get it.
And came down with it, of course, forced on another overtime with that touchdown catch. Again, talking with Frankie Okafor, senior wide receiver for Southeastern Oklahoma State. Wanted to find out a little bit more about you. What brought you to Southeastern?
I was at a junior college, and my offensive coordinator, he knew Coach Atterbury. They had a real good relationship. Coach Atterbury and Coach Bear, they came to recruit a couple guys. I remember seeing them at one practice, and after the season was over, I had a couple schools call me. I remember Coach Atterbury, he was one of the schools called me, spoke with my offensive coordinator. He was like, it's not the biggest school, it's not the best school, but it might be a perfect fit for me. I thought it was a perfect fit for me, and it worked out.
Well, what made it a perfect fit? I mean, because it is a Southeastern Oklahoma State, a smaller campus. It's easy. You got to love the traffic in Durant. It's not that bad.
What made it a perfect fit, I came in the summertime just going straight into it. There was no getting acclimated or nothing. It was just summertime grind, 6 a.m. workouts. I came there, I saw everybody working hard. I was like, I got to work harder than them. I'm the new kid on the block. I don't want them to look at me like, oh, he think he all that, woo-dee-woo-dee-woo. I just came in, worked hard, and it was a perfect fit.
Now, with that, what are your studies leading you to here at Southeastern? What do you plan on doing when you graduate?
I'm a safety major. Plan on going into the safety field, construction. The construction part of safety.
Is there a background that you had in that prior to making that decision, or was it just a career that kind of stood out to you?
There's no background actually. It just caught my attention when I got here.
So what does Frankie Okafor do away from class, away from the football field? What do you like to do in your spare time?
A lot of Xbox, a lot of 2K, a lot of 2K, a lot of 2K, a lot of Madden. Just hanging out, I don't really have a lot of downtime, so the little downtime that I do get, I'm just chilling, trying to kick my feet up, get ready for the next day.
Again, talking with Frankie Okafor, our Pettit Machinery Player Spotlight for this week. Take you into our hot seat segment, and you actually segued into it quite nicely. I think I already know the answer. Favorite video game?
2K.
Favorite color?
Gold.
Toughest professor on campus?
Dr. Brayley.
Favorite sports movie?
Remember the Titans.
Southeastern Oklahoma State.
Give me a degree. Give me a shot, an opportunity.
Again, Frankie Okafor, everyone, senior wide receiver for Southeastern Oklahoma State, our Pettit Machinery Player Spotlight for this week. More of the First United Bank pregame show, as this is Savage Storm Football on the Southeastern Sports Network.